Are you aware if your audience, your client, your main stakeholder actually cares about digital analytics, or are you doing something that you think they care about, but to them it's window dressing. It's something nice to say that they have.
Well, I think for lots of organizations, digital analytics is a nice to have. And I haven't really put a ton of thought into it being because of what you're suggesting, but I think it's actually a really interesting topic to explore and aligns with a strategy that I've talked a lot about on the podcast, and that's anytime you're internal, you face this trap of just assuming that your internal clients have no choice. And I talked about one of my very early bosses, Paul Bartholomew, who, after I left that job, continued to be a mentor to me, taught me the importance of always remembering that your internal clients have a choice. Just because your internal, your IT, your internal digital analytics team, that your internal clients have no choice but to use your service, your product. He's like, no, they have a choice. Now, the CEO may say they don't have a choice, but by their actions, they have a choice. They can choose whether to use your stuff or not. And if they don't, I guarantee you they're going to be running some service under their desk, meaning I have my own computer on my desk. I'll go out and, buy my own Google Analytics or whatever and do it my own way. And that's always an option. And that really stuck with me throughout my career. And I always thought about the importance of being both a sales executive and a marketer, especially if you're internally. And I did this when I was client side. I spun up a whole brand. I worked with our graphic designer to create a logo for our internal practice. I branded it. I marketed it to our internal clients because I knew they had a choice and I wanted them to choose what I was building. And so to kind of fully circle back to your question, yeah, I think it happens a lot. We take it for granted that we think that just everyone's going to quote get it, or we don't even think about it that it's necessary. And so what we end up doing is we end up creating a list of features, and it reminds me a lot of the famous Simon Sinek,
Is this with the iPod?
with the iPod,
Yeah, it's a great one.
the TED Talk. We're basically the anti iPod. We're the here's all the different data points and segments and features and things you can use, and some slick outside SaaS vendors coming in and saying, "Do you want 10,000 songs in your pocket?" Like, oh yeah, I want that, And so it's a really really strong reminder that we can't just go in there and list off like all this cool, like, well, we've deployed customer journey analytics and we have this data mart sitting on the data lake, and then we've got that wired into our Tableau instance, and we put the star schema about, like, okay, kid, I don't care about your list of features. Like, what are you gonna give me? What are you gonna make me feel like? How are you going to improve my job? And I think as digital analysts, unfortunately, that conversation with ourselves of how do we market this, how do we position this to our internal clients, often never happens, and then we become a nice to have.